Some stars rise, some fall, but Susan George, she's been on a roller coaster with secrets Hollywood would rather forget. The early life of Susan George. Susan George was born on July 26, 1950, in Surbiton, Surrey, England. Growing up in a modest working-class household, her childhood was simple but lively. From a young age, Susan stood out with her natural flair for the arts. Whether it was singing, dancing, or acting, she had an undeniable spark. Her parents saw her potential early on. Hoping to nurture her talent, they enrolled her at the prestigious Corona Stage Academy in Hammersmith. At just 12, Susan found herself in a world most kids only dream about. While her friends were busy with schoolwork, Susan was learning lines, donning costumes, and mastering the art of performance. She had a gift for conveying emotion that was rare in someone her age, and her teachers noticed. Susan was no ordinary student. She was poised, dedicated, and ready to do whatever it took to succeed. Her time at Corona wasn't just about learning to act, it was about building confidence, grit, and ambition. Her dedication soon paid off, landing her minor roles on British television as a teenager. In series like The Adventures of Ben Gunn and Dixon of Doc Green, Susan showcased her versatility. Each role, no matter how small, was a step towards something bigger. Directors loved her adaptability, and audiences were drawn to her unique on-screen presence. She was quickly becoming a favorite among industry insiders, her talent unmistakable. These early roles weren't just about getting her face on screen, they were valuable lessons in resilience. Each part gave her an inside look at the demands and realities of a professional acting career. She learned the importance of patience, persistence, and a thick skin. By the late 60s, Susan was no longer a hopeful student, but a young actress ready to break out into the spotlight. While her peers were considering traditional careers, Susan was preparing to pursue acting full-time. Her years at Corona and her early television roles laid a solid foundation, giving her the skills and confidence to dive headfirst into the entertainment industry. It was clear Susan George was a talent on the rise. Breakthrough in acting. Susan's breakthrough came in 1969 with The Strange Affair. Playing Angelica Houston's rebellious sister, she wowed audiences with her depth and wit. But it was her role in Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs, 1971, that truly defined her career. Starring opposite Dustin Hoffman, Susan portrayed Amy Sumner, a character both complex and controversial. The film's intense themes and raw violence shook audiences and divided critics, but Susan's fearless performance left an indelible mark. As Amy Sumner, Susan embodied a role that was as haunting as it was powerful. The film pushed boundaries, and so did she, delivering a performance that firmly established her as a daring actress unafraid of challenging material. Filming wasn't easy. The scenes were intense, and the process was emotionally taxing. Working under Peckinpah, known for his intense, demanding style, forced Susan to stretch her abilities and dig deeper into her craft. She later credited him with helping her reach new artistic depths, despite the difficulties on set. Her resilience and dedication didn't go unnoticed. Critics hailed her portrayal as one of the decade's most unforgettable performances. Despite the praise, Straw Dogs stirred up significant controversy due to its graphic violence and portrayal of gender dynamics. Critics were sharply divided. Some hailed her for taking on such a bold, complicated role, while others questioned the implications of the scenes she brought to life. Susan, however, stood by her choice. In interviews, she emphasized the importance of portraying complex women and expressed pride in her work, regardless of the backlash. Straw Dogs catapulted Susan George from rising talent to a household name in both the UK and the US. This role marked a turning point, transforming her from a promising actress into a respected star who wasn't afraid to tackle difficult, even controversial roles. It was a statement to the industry and audiences alike. Susan George was here to stay, willing to take risks and push boundaries for her craft. Iconic roles and rise to fame. After Straw Dogs, Susan George cemented her reputation for bold, edgy roles. In 1974, she starred in Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, an action thriller that showcased her rebellious side. Playing Mary Coombs, a thrill-seeking, tough-as-nails character, Susan tackled high-speed chases and intense scenes alongside Peter Fonda. Her fearless, unapologetic performance struck a chord with audiences, and the film became a cult classic. Mary Coombs embodied the rebellious spirit of the 70s, a rare portrayal of female independence in action films at the time. Susan's portrayal of Mary was raw and untamed. She didn't play a sidekick or a damsel in distress. She was the driving force behind the story's chaotic energy. This role showed Hollywood that she could hold her own in action and high drama, earning her a strong following. Fans admired her no-holds-barred approach, and her authenticity on screen set her apart. Mary Coombs became an iconic character. She embodied a new kind of female lead, one who was as tough and unfiltered as her male counterparts. Throughout the 70s, Susan continued to push boundaries, taking on roles that tested her range and versatility. She starred in The House Where Evil Dwells, a supernatural horror film where she explored the darker side of storytelling. Then came The Jigsaw Man, a romantic thriller that allowed her to shift gears and show a softer, more vulnerable side. This ability to seamlessly transition across genres kept her in demand and showcased her range as an actress. Directors appreciated her intensity and dedication, knowing she brought depth and authenticity to each role. By the late 70s, Susan had earned a reputation as a chameleon on screen. She could transform into any character, bringing something unique and grounded every time. This versatility made her a sought-after talent, and her willingness to tackle complex, multi-layered roles was rare in an industry often focused on typecasting. Directors valued her for adding a raw edge to her characters, bringing a level of realism that wasn't always common for actresses at the time. Her film choices marked her as a distinctive figure in Hollywood's competitive scene. She wasn't interested in safe, one-dimensional roles. She wanted parts that challenged her and left an impact. By the end of the decade, Susan George was recognized as a formidable talent, taking on roles that required grit, depth, and an unapologetic edge. Controversial moments and media scrutiny. As Susan George's fame soared, so did the public's interest in her personal life. British tabloids, always hungry for juicy stories, fixated on her relationships. One rumor that lit up the headlines was her connection with soccer star George Best. Known for his own rocky path in the spotlight, George and Susan were frequently spotted at high-profile events. It sparked endless gossip about their friendship. Yet despite the media frenzy, Susan kept her private life just that, private. Her calm, collected approach to the constant attention impressed many, a proof she was as poised off-screen as she was on. But it wasn't just her relationships that kept Susan in the press. Her career choices, especially her daring role in Straw Dogs, kept the controversy alive. The 1971 film, directed by Sam Peckinpah, was infamous for its intense violence and provocative themes. Susan's portrayal of Amy Sumner placed her at the center of some of the film's most debated scenes. Critics and audiences clashed over the portrayal, with some arguing it reinforced harmful stereotypes, while others praised her performance as raw and realistic. Susan, however, stood by her choice. She believed that actors should be free to explore difficult, even uncomfortable subjects. Years later, Straw Dogs continued to follow her, and questions about its controversial scenes never fully faded. But Susan didn't shy away from the topic. She addressed it openly, insisting that storytelling sometimes demands facing hard truths. The scrutiny of both her work and personal life was exhausting, though. Susan would later admit that the relentless public focus took a toll on her. Balancing her public image with her passion for acting was no easy feat. Despite the pressures, Susan never allowed the controversies to derail her. She emerged stronger, handling judgment with grace and resilience. Where others might have crumbled under the glare of fame, Susan's poise and strength shone through relationships and personal life. Susan George's life took a new turn in the late 70s when she met British actor Simon McCorkindale. The connection was instant, grounded in shared passions for acting, animals, and adventure. Simon, known for his roles in Death on the Nile and the TV series Manimal, was captivated by Susan's spirited nature and dedication to her work and interests. The two quickly became inseparable, sharing a down-to-earth, supportive relationship that stood out against the usual Hollywood pairings. By 1984, they were married, becoming one of Britain's most admired celebrity couples. Their love of animals played a huge role in their life together. They transformed their country estate into a sanctuary filled with rescued animals and their beloved Arabian horses. Susan's horse breeding business, Georgian Arabians, became a central part of their shared life. Simon was deeply involved, helping Susan care for the horses and manage the farm's daily needs. Georgian Arabians was more than just a business. It was a shared dream and a labor of love. Their estate soon became well known in the equestrian community. Susan established herself as a respected breeder, with Simon's support evident every step of the way. Together, they also contributed time and resources to animal welfare charities, working to promote humane treatment and animal rights. In 2006, their world was shaken when Simon was diagnosed with bowel cancer. Susan became Simon's primary caregiver. She devoted herself to his health and well-being throughout his battle with the illness. She managed his treatments, provided constant support, and ensured he had the care he needed. Their already strong bond deepened as they faced the reality of his diagnosis together, drawing closer even during the toughest days. Despite the emotional and physical toll, Susan remained by Simon's side through every phase of his treatment, providing strength and comfort during his most vulnerable moments. Simon's passing in 2010 was a heartbreaking loss for Susan, bringing an end to nearly 30 years of love and partnership. After his death, she channeled her grief into continuing the work they had started together. She maintained Georgian Arabians, ensuring the business thrived as a tribute to Simon's memory. Her dedication to animal welfare only grew, honoring their shared commitment by staying active in charities and causes they both championed. The sanctuary they built together remained a place of love, carrying forward the spirit of their life together. Unreleased projects and hidden talents. Susan George's career is full of well-known roles, but some of her most intriguing work never even made it to the screen. In the mid-1980s, she was cast in the British TV series War and Remembrance, a high-budget production with high expectations. After months of preparation, though, her role was suddenly recast. The move created a buzz in industry circles, leaving fans and insiders guessing about what might have been, but Susan handled it with her usual poise, moving on without dwelling on the missed opportunity. Never one to sit idle, Susan quickly found ways to channel her creative energy outside of acting. By the late 1980s, she was pursuing another passion: equestrianism. Horses had always been close to her heart, but now she turned that love into a serious pursuit. She didn't just dabble. She dove headfirst into breeding Arabian horses, honing her skills and developing a reputation in the equestrian world. This dedication led to the launch of her own stud farm, Georgian Arabians, which became a respected name across Europe. But Susan's hidden talents didn't stop with horses. She was also a skilled guitarist, something not widely known among her fans. Though she never took her musical talent to a professional level, she often brought her guitar to film sets, using music as a way to relax between takes. She'd unwind by strumming a tune, sometimes sharing impromptu music sessions with friends and co-stars. Her musical side added a new dimension to her life, giving her a private way to express herself away from the spotlight. Susan's ability to reinvent herself even outside of Hollywood kept her grounded and fulfilled. Georgian Arabians became a major part of her life. It became an endeavor that showcased her determination, dedication, and love for animals. Meanwhile, her music provided a quiet outlet, a personal passion that balanced her intense career, financial ups and downs. Her career brought not only fame, but also financial highs and lows. Her hits, Straw Dogs and Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, catapulted her into stardom. It made her one of the most in-demand actresses of the 70s. With success came substantial earnings, and she enjoyed the financial rewards of her popularity. But as many actors discover, Hollywood fame can be fleeting. By the early 1980s, after her peak, Susan began to experience periods of financial uncertainty. Investing in her lifelong passion, she put much of her earnings into Georgian Arabians, her Arabian horse breeding business. Running a stud farm, however, was no small expense. Staff wages, land maintenance, veterinary care, and horse upkeep demanded a steady flow of income. There were times when the farm's expenses brought financial strain, forcing her to balance the business costs with her personal expenses. Yet, she remained committed, pouring her energy and resources into making Georgian Arabians a profitable venture. During these years, Susan took on roles in television films and smaller projects. While they didn't bring the revenue of her earlier films, they kept her in the industry and provided funds to sustain her equestrian dream. She was resourceful, using these opportunities to fuel her passion while weathering the financial ups and downs that came with it. Her dedication to Georgian Arabians was unwavering, even as she faced challenging times. By the 2000s, Susan's persistence began to pay off. Georgian Arabians gained a reputation for producing award-winning horses, attracting high-profile buyers and sponsorships. The farm finally became self-sustaining, proving her investment was worthwhile. What started as a financial gamble blossomed into a respected business, bringing stability and fulfillment. Charitable efforts and advocacy. Susan George has always been passionate about giving back, with animal welfare at the heart of her efforts. Her love for animals wasn't just a hobby, it was a mission. Through her farm, Georgian Arabians, she found a way to blend her love for animals with her drive to make a difference. The farm became more than a business. It was a platform for advocacy, especially for the humane treatment of horses. Susan's dedication was clear, and she used her influence to bring attention to causes she believed in. One of her biggest partnerships was with Brook Animal Hospital. This charity helps working horses, donkeys, and mules in some of the poorest parts of the world. Susan didn't just endorse the cause, she got involved. She helped with fundraising events and campaigns, raising awareness for Brook's mission. Her involvement drew new eyes to the organization and helped extend its reach. It was clear that this work mattered to her. Susan's advocacy extended beyond animal welfare. After her husband, Simon McCorkindale, fought cancer, she took a deeper interest in health-related charities. She began supporting cancer research and patient care initiatives. She often shared Simon's story to inspire others. Her openness allowed her to connect with people dealing with similar struggles, making her support for these causes even more powerful. Susan also gave back to smaller local charities across the UK. She supported causes that often flew under the radar. Even with her busy schedule, between acting, farm life, and public events, she found time to help these smaller organizations. For Susan, these lesser-known causes were just as worthy of attention: career challenges and comebacks. Like many actors, Susan George faced her share of career ups and downs. By the late 1980s, her high-profile roles had slowed, and the parts she was offered began to change. Hollywood's demand for young actresses was fierce. As Susan entered her 30s, opportunities became less frequent. But Susan was never one to back down. She adapted, taking on roles in television films and miniseries, keeping her presence in the industry despite the shifting landscape. In the early 1990s, she made a bold return to the stage. Theater offered her a fresh challenge and a chance to reconnect with her craft. On stage, she could showcase her full range as an actress, free from the limitations she'd begun to feel in film. Audiences welcomed her back warmly. Her performances reminded fans of her raw talent. The shift wasn't just about taking on new roles. It was about finding a new way to keep her passion alive. During the 2000s, Susan made several television appearances, reuniting with longtime fans and connecting with a new generation. Guest spots in popular British TV dramas kept her visible and proved her adaptability. These roles weren't as prominent as her earlier work, but they showcased her unwavering dedication to her craft. She navigated an evolving industry with grace, proving she could thrive in any setting. current endeavors, and the road ahead. Today, Susan George's life centers around her work with Georgian Arabians. The farm has become a leading name in Arabian horse breeding, and her dedication to the craft has brought her widespread recognition in the equestrian world. The horses bred at her farm have won multiple awards. It cemented her reputation as a skilled and knowledgeable breeder. Her commitment to preserving the beauty and lineage of Arabian horses is evident in everything she does at Georgian Arabians. Apart from her business, she continues to be involved in animal welfare advocacy. Her ongoing work with charities keeps her connected to the causes she cares about deeply. She regularly hosts fundraising events, speaks at conferences, and collaborates with other animal welfare advocates, using her platform to make a difference. Though she has largely stepped away from acting, Susan remains in touch with the industry. She occasionally attends film festivals and events, connecting with fans and fellow actors. Her presence at these events is a reminder of her contributions to film. Her fans still cherish her work in Straw Dogs, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, and other films that defined a generation. As for what lies ahead, Susan has hinted at a possible return to acting, but she's clear that any role would have to be meaningful. She's expressed interest in stories that reflect her life experiences and passion for animal welfare. While a full-time acting comeback may not be on the horizon, she remains open to new projects that align with her values.